Hello and welcome back to the GB Fantasy Football channel. In today, I'm going to be looking ahead to the Game Week 3 deadline, giving you my early thoughts and opinions a day earlier this week, seeing who could potentially be making their way into my team and who could potentially be working their way out after some bad or not so great performances in the recent weeks. It's been an okay start. I've had some bench jam, but we'll get into that in a minute. Thank you very much for the support on the channel. We've not long hit 1,000 subscribers and we're well on the road to 1,100. If you could go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up while you're there as well, and drop the bell icon so you don't miss a video. It'll be in your sub box. Don't miss out. Now, without further ado, let's crack on with the video. So far, so okay with regards to Game Week 2, in my opinion. Of course, a certain Cole Palmer was a no-show on Friday night, despite being in the Chelsea lineups when they came out before kick-off. He got injured in the warm-up and subsequently did not even make the pitch that week. We'll get onto him in a little while and what his potential injury could mean for this team. Got 6 points from Steve, I believe it's pronounced, from Burnley. Unfortunately, I didn't go for the double Burnley defence. I cornered the Chelsea defence with Sanchez in goal. I kind of wish I'd have gone there now, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. Those 3 extra points would have gone a long way, I'm sure, at the start of the season. But I'm happy with at least one Burnley asset in defence. Still plenty of people to play across the game week with Sundays, fixtures, and Mondays to go. João Pedro so far being my star asset this week. 15 points. Last week was very much underwhelming in Chelsea's opening game at home to Palace. However, this week at West Ham's ground, he showed what kind of talent he has got. He played in a different position this week instead of the number 9 role. He slotted in slightly behind where I think Enzo Fernandez has filled that gap before, and also Cole Palmer. He played basically a number 10 role. And I actually think that's where he flourishes best. He got 2 assists in that game and a goal, I believe. 15 points, 3 bonus points. He was on fire. I think Chelsea just dismantled and demolished that West Ham team, which really didn't take much in the end. West Ham are really poor at the minute. But because Cole Palmer was a no-show, I'm getting Pedro Porro's 5 points off the bench. That's a lot of P's in one sentence. Unfortunately, he did get a booking, but he wasn't really in the bonus points anyway. I think he might have been creeping up to maybe 1 bonus point, and no defensive contributions either for him. But it's nice to get those 5 points off the bench. It just goes to show what a big squad and a squad with a bit of depth goes to do, and really helps you out in these times of need. Now, I didn't use my bench boost this week, which is what I was ideally meant to do when I set this team up before the season started. Obviously, that double Burnley defence playing at home to Sunderland would have been one. Mark Guéhi, I believe it's pronounced, him not playing last week really put me off. Obviously, we don't know what Forest's result currently is going to be away to Palace on Sunday, but if they pick up a clean sheet, maybe that's more points that have dropped. Palace have been really struggling lately for offensive things, and obviously with Eze joining Arsenal now, I think Devaney will fill into that gap. They have Mateta up front and Ismail Assar in that other number 10 role. They're lacking a bit of quality and a bit of depth across the board, so maybe Forest do come away with a clean sheet, and the bench boost was the right thing to do. But with Palmer not being there and Guéhi only playing 10 minutes, I think keeping it back for a potential future game week was the right idea in the end. Of course, we've got Jorginho Rutter against Everton on Sunday. Chris Richards, I believe it's pronounced, at home to Forest on Sunday as well. I went with him over Nico Williams in this team simply because of DEFCON points, defensive contributions. I think he's quite high on that front and is normally predicted to get quite a lot. So maybe that 2 extra bonus points, putting him on a base of 4, could tip him past a potential Forest clean sheet. Obviously, if they get that, it's 6 points, but I'm hoping Palace keep the clean sheet on top of his DEFCON points as well. James Tarkowski, so close to a clean sheet on Monday night, a penalty which I didn't think was a penalty. I'm not sure what it was meant to do with his arm, but more DEFCON points hoping from him. He picked them up on Monday night. He picked up those 4 points, and I think for that 5.5 million price, I'm very much happy to have him in my team. Got Bruno Fernandes away to Fulham still to play. More than likely going to play in a deeper role from what we saw from Manchester United in that opening fixture. They'll go with Seshko. Cunha and potentially Brian and Burmo up front, with Bruno playing next to either a Casemiro or a Ugarte in midfield. One away from defensive contribution points in game week 1. Hopefully he can pick that up again with a few attacking returns, especially for that 9 million price bracket. He's one to watch. But with Burnley next week, he's going to stay around for a little while. And of course, Mohamed Salah away to Newcastle on Monday night. He is my captaincy choice. I did toy with the idea of Cole Palmer because West Ham's defence just being so poor rather than Palmer and Chelsea being incredible attacking wise. But I left it on Salah mainly to do with the fact that he's playing on Monday night to keep that captaincy role open for longer of the weekend, giving me more hope rather than anything else. Do I expect big points from Salah away to Newcastle on Monday? Not really. If he could pick up an attacking return, maybe a goal or an assist, I'd be ecstatic. But I'd have only put it on Palmer or Watkins. One's a no-show and one blanked. Getting to the blank, Ollie Watkins has really not been very good this season, as Villa haven't either. No goals scored so far. They lost to Brentford 1-0. They drew the opening game 0-0 at home to Newcastle. They're looking a bit slim on the ground attacking wise. Leon Bailey, I think he's gone to Roma now. Obviously, Jacob Ramsey has moved to Newcastle. And Watkins is looking a bit isolated up there. Morgan Rogers looking frustrated as well. Similar to Bruno Fernandes, another £9 million player. I'm hoping he starts coming up the goods. Villa's fixtures are still good going forward, but with the potential price decrease, the same with Cole Palmer, is it time to move him on to potentially a better asset with better fixtures? It's one to know, but these are all worthwhile keeping an eye on ahead of Game Week 3 and the remaining fixtures in Game Week 2. So far this weekend, there's been 3 premium assets who have fallen, potentially due to injury and potentially due to poor form. I'll be covering them in the next 3 slides, but first up, Cole Palmer. So far this season, extremely underwhelming. 10.5 million. He is one of the most expensive assets in the game. We got him because Chelsea's fixtures were on the easier side of things. Obviously, Chelsea coming off the back of a Club World Cup win against PSG. They look good going forward. And they would look really good going forward against a very poor defensive West Ham team. I think if Cole Palmer would have played in that game, these kind of conversations certainly wouldn't have been had. But he pulled up with an injury in the warm-up before the game and he didn't play any minutes in that fixture. Now, for 10.5 million, I think it's too much to hang on to. For a cheaper asset, you could have put him on the bench. You could have waited a week, potentially got a bit more information. I think he's going for a scan on either Tuesday or Wednesday if the news is to be believed across the board. And I think the press conferences before next week's Chelsea game will be an interesting one. Of course, they're at Fulham at home. They're still staying in London. But with only 3 points from 2 games for 10.5 million, I expected more. I expected at least 1 goal contribution. He's got nothing. He's only played 1 game, and I don't think he will be fit for that Fulham game. The early news coming out is if it's the best case scenario, he'll be missing 1 to 3 weeks, which would mean he misses the Fulham fixture, but potentially could be back for the Brentford fixture in Game Week 4. Of course, there's an international break in between Game Week 3 and Game Week 4, so it would give him more time to recover. But I'm looking across the board, I'm looking at other assets in midfield, and I'm thinking, can you get better value for money over the next 4 game weeks out of them? And I think the answer to that is yes. Cole Palmer, he was set to play on the right-hand side for Chelsea, which makes him a much better asset in my opinion. Now, I'm not a Chelsea fan. I think someone like FPL Harry, he is indeed a Chelsea fan, and a lot of his information that he gets and a lot of the time that he watches them, he says that Palmer will indeed be a better asset over on that right-hand side. And where I've watched him before for Chelsea, I have to fully agree. But it seems like João Pedro and Palmer take up similar positions, and you have to put Pedro Neto out to the left. With Cole Palmer playing on the right against West Ham, basically, it was looking like a fantastic asset. But can we rely on him playing there every week for Chelsea? That's no. It's just no. Can you downgrade him to a cheaper asset and potentially push those funds into another player? If you're like myself, I carried the transfer from Game Week 1 into Game Week 2, and then from Game Week 2, I've got 2 transfers going forward, which is always nice to have to shift the team around, a little bit more flexibility. So getting Palmer out for a cheaper asset, maybe you could get someone like a Mark Gay, who is currently not really doing much for Sunderland and could potentially be in for a price decrease in the not too distant future, especially with his ownership being so high. Maybe bump him up to a more expensive asset, pad out the squad, have a five-man midfield, a three-man attack, and rotate between the best fixtures between them. Personally, I think Cole Palmer might be a sell, and it's a disappointing thing to say because I really did have high hopes for him when the season started, especially when a player like Bukayo Saka, despite him also picking up an injury today, he is not going to be one of the three that I select. I'd also be getting rid of Saka. Saka looks like he's more of a long-term injury, certainly 4 to 6 weeks at least, from what the early prognosis has been from many medical sites. It's not looking good for Saka. And even when he comes back, he's going to be slowly reintegrated back into the squad, similar to other long-term absentees for Arsenal like Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus. So Saka being in the same price range as Palmer, you'd normally just downgrade Palmer to maybe a Saka, even though Saka did have and does have Liverpool away this week. It's not an option at the minute. So you're going to have to either bump it up to a Salah if you don't have him, if you're in a Haaland only draft from the start of the season, or a cheaper asset. And I think that might be the way forward. Now, I'm kind of kicking myself, I can't lie. Being an Arsenal fan, I currently don't have any Arsenal assets in any fantasy game. With Liverpool away, Man United away, Newcastle. We've also got other teams difficult in that run coming forward. I think we've got Man City at home in the first 5 or 6 games. I didn't expect a great start, so I went without the players such as Saka, who scored today, and a certain Victor Gyökeres. Now, scoring two at home to Leeds is a different ball game altogether to play in Man United away and the game that we'll have next week, which is Liverpool away. However, it would have been nice to pick up a few Arsenal points, and instead, I'm stuck with Ollie Watkins at his 9 million price bracket. Now, the fixtures for Newcastle at the start have been Newcastle. Fixtures for Villa at the start of the season have been really good. Newcastle at home on the opening day, Brentford away in game week 2, Palace away in game week 3, Everton away in game week 4, and Sunderland away in game week 5 represented a solid start fixture-wise for Villa at the start of this campaign. However, they're shooting blanks on the goal front and it's just not happening for them in attack. There's no creativity, they're looking blank, and when you watch them, it's not looking good. They could potentially bring in a few assets before the end of the transfer window. I think Marco Asensio is potentially touted to rejoin them. Of course, he was on loan in January last season, and they're being linked with several other players, including Nicholas Jackson. But if anything, that would just take more minutes off Ollie Watkins. And we've been here before. We was here with John Duran last season. Was here with Marcus Rashford last season. Watkins at the start of this campaign was nailed on for minutes, and it's just not working. They're going to be in the Europa League very soon as well. I don't think Watkins will play in that. I think someone like a Daniel Marlin will play in that competition, and Watkins will be saved for the league. However, it just creates more doubt around a player who's currently offering absolutely nothing other than appearance points. He didn't look like scoring at any stage today at all. 0.49 expected goal involvement with a 0.42 expected goal. That's mid-range at best. 0.13 expected goal involvement against Newcastle on the opening day. He's not even got to 0.7 across 2 games. Yes, I know Watkins isn't going to create many chances. He's very much a goal scorer, almost in the Haaland type mould. But I'm still hoping for more from him for that price bracket. I think if Arsenal did have a better fixture coming up for this week, I think Victor Gyökeres would be my team. He showed me enough over the first 2 games, despite blanking in the opening game away to Man United. And it looks like he's on penalties as well, even before Saka went off injured. So if you wanted to stick with the same price bracket, I think Gyökeres will be your man. But once again, it might be a case of either downgrading to a cheaper asset or potentially finding that extra 5.1 million now to get up to Erling Haaland if you've already got Salah like myself. Now, that is not an easy feat by any stretch of the imagination. I did toy with the idea of someone like an Elliot Anderson and an Erling Haaland switch for Cole Palmer and Ollie Watkins, but the prices have changed. It's now no longer a thing, and when you're trying to get them kind of options in, it's not the easiest thing to do across the board, especially with such a big jump. In yesteryear, I think the only player that we could potentially jump from forward-wise to Haaland in one move would be Isak, but he is currently on the sidelines at Newcastle. But might be one to note, if you keep Watkins for the next fixture at home to Palace, get through the transfer window, and then Isak's either going to be reintegrated at Newcastle or be a Liverpool centre forward, that could be a move to make. But currently, it might be one of them things where you just hold Watkins through Palace, but then you get to Everton away and Sunderland away, and you're thinking to yourself, I may as well hold him through those fixtures as well. How long do you give a upper premium priced player to produce? And I think he's currently treading a very fine line on that front. Will I be taking him out this week leading into game week 3? There's high potential. It just depends on if I use the funds from maybe someone like a Cole Palmer or even a Bruno Fernandes if they blank this week, or if I take that money away from Watkins and put it elsewhere. I think my gut instinct is maybe upgrade Mark Guéhi on the bench, get a thicker squad, protect the team value, but it could all change with Sunday and Monday's fixtures. And the last premium player that we will be looking at on this video today with regards to availability or poor form is Ryan Ait-Nouri of Manchester City. Now I know quite a few of you on the opening day had Marc Cucurella and Ryan Ait-Nouri picking up both clean sheets against Wolves and Palace respectively. 9 points in the opening game for Ait-Nouri. He picked up DEFCON points, the clean sheet, and I actually think he picked up a bonus point as well along the way. He looked good in the opening fixture, however, playing Tottenham in the Saturday dinner game, blocking a long ball over the top of the defence, it looks like he's rolled his ankle. Now, just from watching the game, it didn't look like anything long term. It looked more like a jar of the ankle or a slight knock, but you can never discount what sort of damage it has caused internally. I'm no doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but he tried to play on, he tried to push through the pain, wasn't meant to be, and he got substituted for Nathan Ake. Now they've got Brighton away, Man United at home, and Arsenal away in the next 3 fixtures. In the next 4, of course, Burnley after that and Brentford away. But if you're looking at just a 3 fixture block, it's not looking too good. 2 away fixtures and a home fixture in the Manchester derby, even without the injury issue. I think they might have struggled for a few clean sheets. The goals they give away today was criminal, specifically the second one. The first one they could have stopped. It was poor defending by John Stones trying to push up, raising his arm in hope of an offside flag. Didn't happen. Brennan Johnson scored and they broke behind the lines. The second goal was an absolute travesty. Trafford trying to play out to, I think it was Gonzalez in midfield. He got caught. Then Palhinha scored the goal. But both of them goals were scored, I believe, after Ait-Nouri went off the pitch. Correct me if I'm wrong on that front. It was certainly close to the time. I think it's a sell. It is a 6 million or £6.1 million asset, I should say. He has risen in price. If there's any doubt over his fitness, we know Pep's going to be very vague in his press conferences this week. He very rarely gives away any kinds of information. They're just getting people back through the door injury-wise. Rodri and Foden came on in this game. But when you look at Man City at the minute, they just don't look right. Of course, we are buying assets in this game. We're buying individual players and not teams. But as a collective defensive unit, they don't look right. John Stones out of position. The only one out the back 5 currently that you look at and go, is pretty solid on the ball and defensively is Diaz. Rico Lewis offers a lot going forward, but realistically, he's better on the ball than he is going back to his own goal. And Ait-Nouri is currently learning that new position. He was a wing back at Wolves. He looked great in the first fixture for Man City, to be fair, but he played more of a left centre back role than anything else. And with a certain Gavardio looming, with his own fitness issues currently keeping him back from playing for City, I think if Gavardio comes back this week, which if Pep is to be believed, it's not a long-term issue. Ait-Nouri could be struggling for minutes anyway, even if he gets fit himself. He certainly will take minutes away from each other on that front, especially when the Champions League fixtures come around for City. So I think it's a sell. Even if he's playing, even if he makes a miraculous recovery, I think there's too much doubt there leading into game week 3 and beyond. But I'd be intrigued to hear what your thoughts are on these 3 players in the comments down below. Should it be a stick or twist kind of scenario, and which ones should make the cut? On the screen, we do indeed have the fixture ticker from Fantasy Football Hub. This is by no means a advertised segment. It's just a fantastic website. If you're looking to plan your teams more long term, these, of course, over the next 6 game weeks, it shows you the great fixtures. It shows you which teams are topping the table for the easiest fixture run. Go check it out. It's a fantastic tool to use. But as you can see, Aston Villa do indeed top the chart, which makes the Watkins decision that much harder. And even for those of you who have doubled up on the Villa attack with Morgan Rogers and Ollie Watkins, it does make you think, can they just stay for a few more fixtures? Now, Villa, they've got Palace, Everton, Sunderland, and Fulham in the next 4. Very good games, but they're not showing enough going forward. And I think for that reason, if you've got a double Villa attack, it might be worthwhile getting rid of one of them. Wolves coming in second, Everton, Newcastle, Leeds, and Tottenham over the next 4 fixtures. A couple of tricky away fixtures there, but if you're looking more long term, of course they are up there in second place. Tottenham beat Man City away, very good result for them today, 2-0. Beat Burnley in the opening fixture, yet to concede a goal, which is one to note under Thomas Frank. Bournemouth at home, West Ham away, Brighton away, and Wolves at home. A couple of tricky the home fixtures are easier. The away fixtures are a bit tricky, specifically the Brighton game. Of course, we know Brighton going forward normally offer a little bit, especially with their wide players, Minter and Mitoma. Then got Leeds in there, yet to score a goal from open play. They look pretty woeful against Arsenal, didn't really create too much. I think they had a header from a corner at one stage, but that was about it. Scored a penalty against Everton on the opening day. Newcastle at home, Fulham away, Wolves away, and Bournemouth at home over the next 4 fixtures for them. One to note, but I wouldn't really be going there. If you've got their assets, maybe keep them. They're cheap enough. You think, and you put your draft together at the start of the season with them in mind. So maybe keep them, but don't go near them if you haven't already got them. Nottingham Forest, West Ham at home, Arsenal away, Burnley away, and Sunderland at home. Now, those are 3 fantastic fixtures out the next 4. I think away to Arsenal, they might put up a fantastic defensive display, but you'd expect Arsenal to score in that fixture. If you can find a good rotation where your player comes out for game week 4 and you've got him for game week 3, 5, and 6, I think Forest might be a really good shout going forward. Of course, defensive wise, you've got Milenkovic, you've got Ollie Aina, you've got Nico Williams, you've got Murillo, you've got Sells in goal, all fantastic assets. Maybe not the fullbacks when the European fixtures come around, maybe a rotation risk, but I'd certainly be going for the centre backs and goalkeeper on that front. Gibbs White offers fantastic contributions going forward, and Elliot Anderson looked a really good player in game week 1 for defcons, for assists, just general goal threat, and for his 5.5 million price bracket, might be one to note. Of course, Chris Woodinho up front, 7.6 million now. He has indeed had a price rise, always exceeding his expected goals, scoring well beyond what the data says. How long he can do that for, I'm not too sure, but once again, a great asset for those of you who could potentially be downgrading Ollie Watkins. Newcastle in the 6th position, Leeds away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, and Arsenal at home over the next 4. And the remaining 4 in the top 10 are Man City, Palace, Sunderland, and Man United. So plenty of good fixtures and teams to target in those top 10. Of course, 11 to 12 doesn't mean they can't score goals, doesn't mean they can't get clean sheets from those fixtures. But if we're looking at it from a data-driven point of view, these should be the teams to target. We all know it doesn't necessarily work out that way when it comes to fantasy football. But if we're going to put ourselves in the best possible opportunities and put ourselves forward for those points going forward, I think these are the teams to target. Hopefully, that means more points as well. So that does conclude my Game Week 3 early thoughts video. I hope you've enjoyed. It's a bit earlier compared to last week, but I hope that you've got a few bits of data from this video that could potentially alter your teams, or maybe you've had a defensive dilemma or rotation dilemmas going forward into Game Week 3, and it's maybe switched up your mind just a smidge. There's a lot of points still to be had over this week for myself personally. Leave a comment down below on how your week is going so far, who's been your biggest flop and who has been your biggest saviour. Even a player who you didn't expect could get points this week. Maybe you've got a I don't know, a Burnley player. Maybe you've gone triple Burnley defence, you've gone wild, and you've pulled a triple Burnley clean sheet out of the bag. Tell me in the comments down below. I'm intrigued. I think I'm in line for a small rank increase so far, but with Sunday's fixtures and Monday's nights still to go, there's so many more points still to be had, and I'll be intrigued to see where I end the week. Solid enough start in game week 1. I think I got 60 points. If I can build on that for game week 2 and going forward, that would be incredible, especially not having used a booster yet. They're still in the back pocket for later on in the season. That's it, I'm afraid. The socials are down in the description below. I've got TikTok, Instagram, and X. Go check it out. It's all the good stuff. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Whether you're an FPL player or a Sun Dream Team player, there's plenty of content on the channel. Go check it all out. Some great stuff out there. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed today's content, and do hit that bell notification button not to miss an upload. Thank you very much for watching, and you'll be seeing me in a new video very soon.